Ready to be transformed? You're about to spend a life-changing hour with a woman who's done more than just talk about dramatic self-transformation. She achieved it, then literally wrote the book on it, leaving countless success stories in her wake. Will yours be next? Find out now and every week on The Cat James Show. And now your host, Cat James.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Cat James Show. I hope you're ready to be transformed, because today I want to address something that's not often talked about, really, but it's really on everyone's minds each passing year, especially if you're over 35 years old. I am talking about Mojo. Now, if you look at Mojo, the definition, the traditional definition of Mojo has to do with charm and maybe good fortune. The modern Urban Dictionary definition of Mojo references Austin Powers and also talks about vitality and even prowess with the opposite sex. What I'm interested in, as those of you who've been listening to the Cat James Show for up to 6 years now are familiar with, is that I'm really into vitality. And this is where health and confidence meet. And this is what we're going to be covering today, of course. As always, another angle to transform your journey to being your most vital self. And in this case, getting your mojo back. And with me today is Hugh Woodward, who has an interesting personal story, just like mine, but also has studied health, but more specifically hormonal health. He has a Master of Science in Healthcare Services Administration from Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas, and a business management degree from University of Texas at Austin, and started his company, Health to Go, based on observation of his father's success in a very cutting-edge hormonal therapy, which is based on DHEA and using the body's ability to use this pro-hormone basically as a precursor to the correct functioning of all your other hormones. And I just want to, before I bring Hugh on, remind those of you who maybe have not been listening to the Cat James Show over the years, that I had quite a renaissance in my own mojo. At a young age, I had lost it. In fact, by the time I was 19 years old, and certainly by the time a few years later, when my body started to fail, my liver started to fail, I had become obese. I had skin rashes, horrible rashes, and was not digesting anymore. I had a raging eating disorder that had me binging on a daily basis, and then hardly able to move. And at that point, and when I showed my niece a picture of me at that early age, she said, "Aunt Cat, you looked like you were 50." And, of course, I replied to her and said, well, that's not what 50 looks like. And I am 50 now. So it tells you how long ago that story was. And I still look younger, and this is not an exaggeration, than I looked at the age of 19. And so what this has to do with is not wishful thinking, not just courses in self-confidence. It has to do with cellular level transformation. And the stages for me were, of course, crisis. Many people, and some of you listening, are or know someone who has reached a crisis or is hitting bottom in terms of their loss of physical prowess from a lot of different reasons. And for me, that resulted in my wake-up call. It resulted in taking action, getting my digestion back. That was the beginning of reversing all of my autoimmune problems that were literally causing my liver to fail and my thyroid not to work and leading to my obesity, turning around the blood sugar issues, and getting back function, even correcting my brain chemistry. One of the things that I used in that journey was DHEA. And at the point that happened, I had no idea that it was going to cause a change, a reversal, a flip back in time, basically, to a different functioning of how my body proportioned itself. Literally, I saw my pear-shaped body lose its pear shape. I felt just my interest in the opposite sex come back. I felt like I was functioning in a way that I had never felt. And this is a combination of the dietary changes that I made, which are very unique and resensitize a person on a cellular level to a lot of different hormones that I've talked about many times in other shows. But also this cellular level transformation. And I have to say, supplements were where it was at. Now, back then, I took typical DHEA capsules. And I know better now and have been using literally the only DHEA product I know of that is not only transdermally absorbed, but also free of petrochemicals and things that you don't want. And that's what I want to talk more about, and the research behind how you can get your mojo back. Welcome back to the show, Hugh.
Oh, it's great to be back, Kat. Great to be back. You have a history with this product that it changed. You had an interest in physical fitness and bodybuilding. You had felt changes. Your dad said, I've been using this topical DHEA product in my office, and just try it. What happened? Yeah, this was, I guess, about 8 years ago. I went up there. Dad's very leading edge, and he always comes up with new stuff that's out there, and he's really well known in his field. Bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is his sort of specialty, and he says, Hugh, try this cream. My patients just love it, and I think it'll really help you, health and mood and everything else. See what you think. Use it every day, and let me know what you think in a few weeks. So I did. And after, I did everything else the same. I exercise, I try to eat right, and I was talking to Dad about a month after that, and he says, so Hugh, how's everything going? And I said, Dad, I feel great. I said, what is that cream? What's the deal with that? He says, it's DHEA Cream, and it's bioidentical DHEA. It's exactly what your body makes naturally, and that's what started the wheels turning of all of this. And I said, oh my God, Dad, why isn't this available over the counter for people all over the U.S., the world? He says, well, I don't know. It really should be. It's perfectly safe and legal as an over-the-counter product, but nobody's doing that. And so I developed Health to Go, and we make the finest bioidentical DHEA cream made, and we're very proud of it. And I owe it all to my father, who introduced it to me some 8 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Let's go to the basics for those who are unfamiliar with DHEA, the differences between taking it, orally. And we just have 1 minute, and then we'll continue after the break. But give us the basics.
Well, because DHEA is about 80% used in the skin, applying it on the skin makes a lot of sense. And it instead of being filtered out by the liver, which is what happens when you take it orally, you're absorbing it in a place where your body has it naturally and processes it naturally anyway. The dermis, the skin, the largest organ of the body. Mm-hmm. Right.
And so after that happens, maybe as a teaser to how we'll continue after the break, recently even more substantiation of cardiovascular benefits, libido benefits, memory, and other brain benefits. People are going to be hearing about belly fat and on and on. So stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Kat James Show. We're talking about Mojo. and really the interpretation we're emphasizing today, the concept of cellular level transformation and how it affects what people see as mojo, and you hear it, I lost my mojo, or I'm going to get my mojo back, or wow, he's got his mojo back. Very often, I think people give total credit to either life circumstances or give total credit to their efforts at maybe self-affirmations or getting motivated again, reading self-help books, maybe a job promotion and all the confidence that gives you. But there are a whole lot of people, many that I've worked with, and myself included, who have gotten their mojo back largely thanks to cellular level transformation that we can do for ourselves, and in fact, that we cannot have done for us by anybody else. Cannot have our mojo given back to us by our doctor, by our trainer. You could have a motivational trainer, yes, but the kind of motivation that I'm talking about is due to feeling a change where suddenly something in your body is working for you instead of working against you. Because you can do everything else to get your mojo back, and if you ignore your biochemistry, your hormonal health, your adrenal health, your gut health, all these things we've talked about over the years on the Cat James Show, it will be an uphill battle. Now, Hugh Woodward, who is an educator on DHEA and also an entrepreneur, his father, a pioneer in topically applied DHEA products. We're specifically going to be talking about one today called Twist 25. You have probably something to say about your own mojo when you were taking the DHEA. I didn't specifically hear how you would say that affected that, but I also want you to run down, whomever is listening, the different things that can affect our confidence and our feeling on top of our game that DHEA is now proven to affect.
Mm-hmm. Well, hormones are the reason. Hormones drive how we feel, how we look, how we sleep at night, our muscle tone, it just drives so much. And DHEA is a base for some 50 hormones in the body. It's a pro-hormone, naturally occurring, and we make the most of it when we're about 20 to 25 years old. We make more and more from birth to about age 20, 25. Then from age 25 on, we're making about 2% less each year. So by the age of 35 or so, you're making 20% less than you did when you were at your best, when your mojo was, right, when you felt good, when you were active, and then you make less and less. So by age 50, you're making half as much as you did when you were at your best. And because it's a base pro-hormone for so many different, testosterone, estrogen, estradiol, estrone, estriol, the list is long, but it is such a basic precursor to so many things that make us look and feel good, that as a result, we start to, people, they call it menopause for women, or premenopause, perimenopause. With men, it's called andropause, but it's that feeling where you're just kind of blah, you're slowing down, you're feeling, unattractive, you don't have much sex drive, bad mood, just kind of feel scatterbrained, wiped out, and it's, we call it slowing down, growing old, getting over the hill, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't have to be that way. So,
what is the research, Hugh? Let's talk about, before we speak more specifically and also share an opportunity for people to get the best form of DHEA at the lowest price that they're going to find anywhere. First, let's talk about the proven benefits of DHEA, any science that you want to give us, but also anything new that you want to tell us. Yeah,
well, there's great science that's come out of 2014 about DHEA and its ability to significantly reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, and that's the number one killer in the U.S. and the world. So to reduce the risks of cardiovascular disease, that's huge. But there's also great studies that have shown it reduces both visceral and abdominal belly fat, abdominal fat. Well, who doesn't want to do that, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Helps reduce the risks of cancer, all kinds. That's all kinds of cancer. The level of DHEA is directly associated with your risk of cancer. So that's huge.
That I just want to interject really quick on the cancer front. Anything that works super well is controversial. Anything in the natural, unpatented world that people can have access to, and that some drug company can't mark up 70 to 2,000%, is controversial. If it competes with, there are so many areas of prescription drug billions profits that will be affected by the science that you have and will continue to share about DHEA. And it strikes me when you talk about the cancer thing, how many years they tried to make it look like DHEA caused cancer. And so this is part of the controversy. And now we're seeing more and more recent research. You can even find accusations that DHEA might cause heart problems or something. And all of this we're seeing is not true. And so I'd also love for you to touch on the safety record.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable thing, because the idea was that if DHEA helped you make more hormones, right, then it would increase your risks of prostate cancer, breast cancer, hormone-related cancers, right? What they found is actually the reverse. If you've got a higher level of DHEA, you have a reduced risk of those types of cancer. And in fact, they're using DHEA in a lot of treatments that they use with cancers now, because they found it's got so many beneficial effects. So,
and it causes apoptosis, which is programmed cancer cell death.
Right, and the cells then go away rather than multiplying.
Exactly. And that's incredible. So, I mean, it's whether you want to go and talk about the drier aspects of what DHEA does, the precursor, as you said, to all of those hormones. There are the literally sexier aspects of DHEA as it pertains to our subject of the day, Mojo. And so let's talk about how can something that has this kind of impact, a cream that you're putting on externally, give you confidence. And you touched on some things. You touched on belly fat. Let's talk libido. Well,
it's very interesting that for men, libido is driven by testosterone, and it's more of an urge than it is a multifaceted, complex thing. With women, they've got to have the right sleep at night so they feel rested and energetic, have good energy, feel lean, feel pretty, feel good, sharp of mind. That's when, with all those things together, their sex drive comes back, and it's for obvious reasons. I mean, you're more in nature. Your years of procreation are between the ages of, say, 20 and 25, or there around, and that's when you're making the most DHEA. It makes a lot of sense because it's controlling really so many different aspects of how we look and feel. That's what, as you call it, Mojo is all about. It's having that you're feeling sharp, you're feeling alive, alert, happy. That's when you've got sexual thoughts, and you're comfortable in yourself, and that's when you're looking for others and affection in that way as well. And so it all fits together and makes a lot of sense. I mean, when we're healthiest and we feel good and we're looking, that's when you look your best, is when you feel your best.
Yeah. And also, I will say, the other component of Mojo is also your professional life and your life purpose and follow through. And this absolutely goes hand in hand. There is as we both know, a little bit of a aspect hormonally with women that's tied to perimenopause and menopause, drop in androgen hormones too. And this is something that DHEA also corrects. And so I think that people are pretty fascinated with this. I don't want to go too much further without specifically talking about Twist 25. And this is the product that you are bringing to the world, and getting to how people use it. We can get into more details and more of the research in the next two segments. But how do people use it? And let's connect them with the product. First, I can just say twist25.com, and that's the number 25, twist25.com. I'll go ahead and give the phone number, 888-489-4782. Now, you're going to mention CAT. That's K-A-T if you're going to go online. That's my name, K-A-T, in all caps, as your coupon code to get 15% off of the Twist 25 DHEA topical cream. Then this is a special arrangement just between Hugh and the Cat James Show. Now, for those of you who are big fans of this product already, you can actually get 3 tubes for $15 off, or even 12 tubes for $75 off. There's your biggest savings right there, and you'll be set for the year. You can stack both of these quantity discounts on top of that same 15% discount too. Again, if you use KAT, the code, at either twist25.com, or again, the 800 number is 888-489-4782. And so we have about a minute, Hugh, to talk about how you use the product.
It's a cream. You put it on your thin, hairless skin, say between your wrist and elbow is a good place, because then you take your inner arm and just rub it against your side in a circular motion. It takes about 10 seconds to do, but 1 squirt in the morning, 1 squirt in the evening. I put it right next to my toothbrush and toothpaste. It makes it easy to remember. And then that way I do 2 squirts in the morning and 2 squirts in the evening. I'm 6 foot, and, men typically use a bit more than women. And so men use 2 squirts in the morning, 2 squirts in the evening. Women use 1 squirt in the morning, 1 squirt in the evening. And just rub it into thin, hairless skin. It's great for your face as well. And just rub it until it disappears. It leaves no smell, no oily residue, sinks in quickly and is absorbed. Just don't go swimming right after you use it, obviously. It's that simple.
That's great. When we come back, we will talk more about the safety record, talk more about the issues that this can affect that have direct impact on getting your mojo back. Stick around. Welcome back to the Cat James Show. We are talking about how you can, beyond the powers of self-help and motivational techniques and affirmations, how you can get your mojo back. I talked about how I did this a long time ago, which is why basically I lived the spirit of my teens in my late 20s and 30s and 40s, and it is amazing the power of nutrition and taking the right supplements. We're talking about one of the most powerful today, had huge impact on my life, and that is DHEA. Only what I was doing was not as good as I could have been doing, and that was taking a pill. Hugh Woodward is an expert on the subject, and Hugh, as we went to break and we're going through all of the benefits, it's known that if people want to use DHEA to help them get their mojo back, they need to be using the right form. What do we know about the forms of DHEA? Well,
for years they did study. I mean, DHEA is nothing new. They've known about it for 20, 30 years, actually longer than that even. But taken as an oral supplement, they were doing these studies and going, oh, this is kind of inconclusive. We're not really seeing much result from it. Well, the reason is that oral DHEA is eliminated by what's called the first pass effect of the liver, because the blood from your gut goes directly through the liver, and any large molecule like DHEA is filtered out and eliminated. What does get into the bloodstream when you take it as a pill is simply DHEA sulfate. And those DHEA sulfate is okay. It's not bad for you in any way. It's not a base for any of the sex hormones, and it's not a base for many hormones at all. So it's not a bad thing, but it's not doing you much good. And so what you realize is that when you use it as a properly made bioidentical cream, a DHEA cream is what the body makes naturally, right? Bioidentical.
Yeah.
What the body makes naturally, and you're putting it on skin where it occurs naturally anyway. And it turns out that there's medical research that's been done by Dr. Libido that shows that menopausal women make more than 80% of the hormones that they make in their skin, the dermis, the largest organ of the body. So that's really important science.
Interesting.
And why DHEA used as a cream called Twist 25 works so well. It's what the body makes naturally, and you're putting it where your body's using it naturally. And so it just feels right. And you notice it in so many subtle ways once you start using it. It takes about 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, I can tell you that. I think it'd be good for me to share my experience with finally using the topical product. Definitely in that perimenopausal time of my life, and I can see day-to-day differences if I don't use it, and if I do, differences in libido and just a sense of motivation. I've taken DHEA in different forms for so long, but only the correct form since I've become familiar with Twist 25. I want to talk about just back to this Mojo concept, the things that affect it. We know diet affects Mojo. Sugar is a big Mojo kill. But there are longer term effects that are part of this thing that we lose as we get older. And I know that there's some really interesting science that you have regarding the relationship between DHEA and adrenal health. And adrenal health has been something we've discussed on the show many times. It affects other things. Once the adrenals start to weaken, the thyroid is affected. It affects belly fat. The sleep is affected. All of this ties into stress. And this is something that all of these things combined wear us down as we get older. So let's talk about the DHEA impact on all of these things. Well,
adrenal exhaustion is what a lot of folks call it, or adrenal fatigue. And really what's driving that is high levels of cortisol, because, the stressful lifestyle that most of us live these days, where it's just go, 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 and you've got to be at work on time, at this meeting, cortisol, and at this. Sure. Yeah, it gives people this elevated cortisol. Well, you make less and less DHEA, as we were saying earlier, each year as you get older. Well, with cortisol, you make more and more each year as you get older. So there comes this crossroads in life, middle age, where we're making too little DHEA and too much cortisol, and as a result, we just feel wiped out, and it's what we're calling adrenal exhaustion.
Exactly, and it's possible to have adrenal insufficiency eventually by too many years of overproduction of cortisol, and we both know that ends up just as when our stress levels are chronically high, that can be a big contributor to the chronically elevated cortisol, and other things that are, central nervous system stimulants that people use or even abuse, like coffee, over a period of time. If someone can't get through, their day without another big sugar or coffee pick-me-up in the afternoon just to even stay awake, or they can't get their day started, if that sounds like you have the beginnings of adrenal issues, and this is something you don't want to just continue to get worse and worse. And part of this downward spiral is if sleep starts to get involved. And it frankly, it is much more of a problem as we get older. For some women, for example, progesterone goes down. Others have, some have estrogen dominance, some have not that problem, and DHEA can help in both cases. But the sleep gets affected. So if you're listening, your sleep is not what it used to be, and that will correlate with belly fat. Exactly. So if you think that more push or sit-ups and calorie control is going to get rid of your belly fat, there are two really important things that I wanted you to hear today from Hugh. The research, I think it was Dr. Northrop's research, adrenal health, and also the belly fat piece. But sleep is right in there. And stress, these are catch-22 items. You have to take care of the whole ball of wax.
Yeah, Dr. Christian Northrop wrote a really good article that's available online. You should look it up, about adrenal exhaustion, I think it's called in her article. So look for that online. But basically, when your DHEA levels are higher, your REM sleep, the cycle of sleep where you dream and really recharge, is much deeper. And there's great medical research that's come out showing that. So you want to keep your DHEA levels up to get deep REM sleep. Well, when you wake up and you've had a good night's sleep, you feel rested, alert, alive. You've got better energy during the day. When you've got more energy during the day, you're more apt to go exercise. You're probably going to get more done at work.
You're less apt to reach for sugar. And
for those bad
stimulants.
Things like the sugared sodas or the real sweet
espresso.
Energy drink or whatever, espressos or whatever it is. Yeah, you don't feel like you need that. You'll go, you get a workout in. That's so much better for you. And then
or you just be more active, sure.
Yeah, and we were talking about Mojo. Well, hey, that's what it is. It's when you feel alive and alert and you're doing what you should during the day. You feel great. And then at night, yes, you've got increased sex drive because you're taking care of your body, and it just that's the way we work. So it makes a lot of sense.
And so what did her study show? The Northrop study, and then also want to hear about the belly fat study, and then I want to get into like you said, focus and brain. That is part of Mojo.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dr. Northrop's study got it all right, and she does talk about in her article that you've got to eat right, you've got to exercise, drink good clean water, get sunlight on your skin to make vitamin D3. All these little things we do each day make a big difference in our health and how we look and feel. So it's all the little things put together. DHEA is one of the really, really important ones. So if you add that to your routine each day, and you're eating right, drinking water that's good and clean, and those are the things that make us healthy. And if you do that day after day over the course of a week, a month, you're going to start to feel these differences come together in lots of subtle ways. And I mean, women, the things we hear from women most often is that they feel like they've got more energy, they're less scatterbrained, they're sleeping deeply and well at night, not having hot flashes, soft, smooth skin, fingernails and hair grow faster, and they're just feeling healthy. So, you ask, where does that
Let me
mojo
remind
come
listeners,
from?
Hugh. Yeah, exactly. We're going to talk more research when we come back, but let me remind listeners, the 800 number is 888-489-4782. And twist25.com. If you're driving in your car right now and worried you won't remember, just remember twist25. That's the number 25, twist25.com. And if you can remember my name, Kat, all caps, then you've got the thing to enter into the coupon code field to get 15% off. 15% off of Twist 25 DHEA Cream. Just remember, if you get 3 of them, that's another $15 off on top of the 15%. Twist25.com. Stick around. Welcome back to the Kat James Show. We have been talking about Mojo and an overlooked way to get it back. How many people, if you went up to them and said, do you have a time in your life that you really kind of felt like you were losing your mojo, that you really didn't have your stride anymore? How did you get it back? So often someone might say, well, I had this one opportunity, or maybe read this self-help book, and those things can help. But if you were to ask me that question, I was looking literally at the end of my life at the age of 24. And if you were to ask me, how did you get not only your life back, but also for the first time in your life, I can't even say I ever had Mojo, even in my teens, because I had developed an eating disorder at the age of 12 and was nearly dead from it by the age of 24. Obesity, lethargy, heart palpitations, massive rashes, inability to digest, elevated cortisol, of course, and adrenal exhaustion. I couldn't get going without central nervous system stimulants like sugar and caffeine. And how did I get it back? Well, by almost dying, waking up to physically, at a cellular level, what my body needs. Now, when people think of Mojo, it is amazing to me, from my perspective, especially as someone who, through my programs, my total transformation programs, have been able to help countless people get their Mojo back. And we've written up their stories in all sorts of magazines. And this is cellular level Mojo, and nothing feels like it in the world. One of my favorite substances to help people get back cellular level Mojo is DHEA, which we've been talking to on with an expert on the subject, Hugh Woodward, whose father, a doctor, pioneered a topical DHEA product called Twist 25, which you've all learned how to get 15% off. Just go to twist25.com. And you'll get 15% off by entering my name in all caps, K-A-T. And you also can get that same 15% applied on top of quantity discounts, such as an additional $15 off of 3 tubes, or another $75 off 12 tubes for you established fans of Twist 25 out there. Just remember to use capital K-A-T in the discount code, and that winds up being a better price than you're ever going to see this product for. It is the only without petrochemicals. You've got to go topical. If you've missed, any of the reasons why you need to use topical instead of the pill, you can just visit twist25.com for that information that you missed. Now, Hugh, there's another part of Mojo. We all know it has to do with how our brain, when we're off our game, the brain isn't functioning in the best way. Tell us about the Mojo piece where DHEA can have an impact on things like depression and the brain function.
There's a great study on WebMD called DHEA May Help Midlife Depression. It's by Miranda Hiddie, and it's a really great study. But the findings were basically that, of the 19 million Americans that suffer from depression, or what they diagnose as midlife depression, frequently don't need to be taking antidepressants. If they would just try and get their DHEA levels back up, a lot of the depressive symptoms go away. In fact, in this study, half of the people in the study were not suffering from these depressive symptoms anymore after the study. They used DHEA and instead. And these are people that weren't even using the cream. When you use it as a properly made bioidentical DHEA cream, you really help your mood, how you sleep at night. It's dramatic. It really is.
Yeah. And again, can you reiterate, Hugh, what's happening that causes the DHEA's benefits to be amplified when it's used topically?
Well, because you're putting what the body makes naturally on the skin where it's used naturally anyway, it feels right. I mean, your body, that's where your body uses it naturally. So that's really primarily why it works so well, is it's what the body makes where the body uses it and makes it itself. So that's crucial. When you're taking it as
and
a
it's
pill,
bypassing the liver. As you mentioned earlier in the show, there's a lot of to show how it's not being used. Part of what you're taking, if you're using
a lot of it's
pill.
getting filtered out and destroyed when you take it as a pill. It just doesn't do any good. It doesn't get there.
Yeah.
So that's
what else
that's
about brain health?
Well, cognitive function is something that they found. They've done many studies, medical research studies about cognitive function in more elderly people that suffer from dementia. Or the onset of dementia. There's a great study about DHEA and cognition. That's dehydroepiandrosterone levels and cognitive functioning in aging. The conclusion in this study was that subjects with low levels of serum DHEA among the same age group showed a significant decline in visuospatial skills, short-term memory, and verbal fluency. So, I mean, if you're, it's cognitive function. If your
Sounds
DHEA
like Mojo
levels
to
are
me.
up, there you go. That's back to Mojo. That's what makes us feel good. It's what makes us feel right. It's what makes us feel so human. Is our hormone levels, and our hormone levels are dependent on our DHEA levels.
You know, you mentioned, back with the sleep, all of this really, again, it's like sort of a chicken and the egg ball of wax. It affects everything else, and if you can heed these studies and what we now know about the best way to absorb this, very easy to get this into your life, like you said, just next to your toothbrush or your bedside table. Something that women can use twice a day, maybe one pump, like you said, just a pre-measured pump, and men could use it up to two times a day, or certainly if you're working with a naturopath, they will have their opinions on how much you should use. But going back to the safety, and you and I have talked about this before. The safety studies, you can look right on Wikipedia at the safety studies for DHEA, and even in absurdly high amounts, you saw no long-term and no problems. I mean, even when people were doing, 400 milligrams, and there are little subtle symptoms, like you said, the androgen symptoms, maybe if the skin gets too oily or there's a little bit of a development of, some facial hair if you're really overdoing it. But it's amazing that even in the climate where Big Pharma and the watchdogs would love to. They don't like things like DHEA because they work. They're not patented. They are not making billions in profits, and they have not been able to find enough to cause any problems.
Right.
And
there are
so
no
the
dangerous,
safety is there. Yeah.
No dangerous or harmful effects from it at all, and so people don't have to worry that, oh my God, what's this going to do? Is it going to hurt me? Is it going to cause terrible side effects? No, it doesn't.
And it's a precursor, and a pro-hormone produces the other hormones as they're needed. We know there's so many other things that we could talk about that have been reflected in studies using DHEA, weight loss, diabetes. We talked about the cardiovascular, even autoimmune diseases, and we just began to talk about dementia. We know there are studies showing benefit for osteoporosis, etc., but we have come to the end of the show. I think the most important thing is to remind folks that Twist 25 stands alone in the description of what it is and what it does. And what it doesn't contain, the petrochemicals, the parabens, the perfumes, the most absorbable form of DHEA. More information, everyone, at twist25.com. And here's the 800 number one more time, where you're going to go and you're going to use the code CAT, whether you go online or order over the phone, and that has to be in all capital letters, KAT. At either twist25.com or 888-489-4782 for 15% off of Twist 25. Again, you can visit twist25.com. Hugh, thank you so much for another informative show. Join us next week for another transforming show.
You've been listening to The Cat James Show. Want Cat to help with your transformation challenge? Submit your question at thecatjamesshow.com. She'll try to cover it in an upcoming show or newsletter. To learn about Cat James' total transformation programs or her award-winning book, visit thecatjamesshow.com. Catch The Cat James Show on Sirius at XM 131 Family Talk each Saturday at noon Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern.